Summit League Media Days coming up. Prior to that, little conversation just about topics in general, you know, that you're facing individually, we're facing across the landscape. First of all, I just want to let you know we're joined by Omaha coach Derrin Hansen, University of South Dakota head coach Todd Lee, NDSU head coach Dave Richman. Thanks, gentlemen, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
What we're going to talk about, the first one we'll hit on is the hot button issue everybody's talking about all over. California's introducing legislation, Florida's gonna, Colorado, who knows. But it's something that's been talked about for a long time, the fair pay to play rule or act, whatever you want to call it, which it seems attractive with those four words. I don't think anybody has an idea how it would be implemented. But I'm going to start with you, Coach Hansen. Just some general thoughts on how you think it impacts the landscape. How does it impact your program?
I think it's going to really impact the landscape, especially maybe at the high major level. You know, the Autonomy 5 and maybe the next couple leagues. I think it'll impact them for sure. Does it get all the way down to maybe where we're at in the Summit League? I can't say that, but what I will say, I think it'll be very difficult to implement. I think it'll be really difficult to regulate, which would be one of the big things. How are you going to do that, and who is going to do that? Is that on your campus? Is that the NCAA? Is it, or is there a middle person? I'm not sure how that's going to happen. But if it does go down, I will say this, and to preface it, I just love college athletics the way it is. I've liked it forever. I think it's about the education. I think it's about kids learning. I think it's about all of those things. If that does go down, college athletics will be different how we grew up with it, and it will be changed probably forever. So I'm not saying if I'm for it or against it, but it will change everything.
Excellent observation. And go back to, this has been talked about, Summit League was one of the first mid-major leagues to go to cost of attendance, which I think was a huge step in the right direction, without question. But you bring up some great points. Coach Lee, your thoughts?
Well, the NCAA for years have been trying to figure out how to help the student athletes, whether it's make it easier for them to transfer. You know, they don't like to get sued. Unfortunately, the NCAA doesn't like that. Nobody does. But that's what's happened. And I agree with Coach. You know, it will change the landscape. The issue we have in athletics is there are two sports that generate a lot of revenue. The NCAA is not just about those two sports. And I do like the way it is, but I also understand that if you're using somebody's likeness to make money, some of these kids don't have any money. Their families don't have any money. And it's tough. Now, they get an education. They do get cost of attendance. Some of them get Pell Grant money. But we have a lot of sports that the NCAA regulates, and those sports that make money support. And if you're going to start making, you know, that's always been the argument as to how you have the football and basketball are the two generating sports revenue-wise, but you have a lot of sports on campus that need help, and I understand both sides of it.
Yeah, great perspective on that, and nothing raises more money for the NCAA than the NCAA men's basketball tournament, and that is what everybody's after, and those are the things I think you make some good points. Everybody kind of references the amount of money, but they only really are talking about one or two sports. Yeah. Coach Richman, your thoughts on that?
No, obviously very similar. I think, like Coach Hansen said, I'm a purist, I'm a traditionalist, you know, going back to what's a scholarship worth this day and age. And if I'm just going to come flat out and say it, I don't think I'm in favor of it right now. I think we're opening up a whole new can of worms that we're not prepared for. That being said, we need to start embracing these things. I think it's above the NCAA's level. It's above our pay grade. And we're talking about the government's doing it, the legislative's doing it. There's just certain things that we're going to have to figure out and adapt on the fly and embrace it, like I said.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's also important to keep in mind nobody's ever forced anybody to take a full scholarship. But they still choose to do it. You know, isn't that amazing? Yeah. So thanks, gentlemen. Great perspective on this, and it's certainly something that isn't going to go away, as you've all addressed. And the nice thing is you get to go about your business, and whatever happens, that'll happen. We'll jump away from that. 3-point line goes back to the international distance. Does it impact your game, your thought process, the game in general, Coach Lee?
Well, I think it'll affect spacing a little bit. I do think it'll affect average or bad shooters. Good shooters, I don't think it'll affect as much.
Yeah.
We do recruit international players, and they come in, they're very comfortable with it. But I think that it will affect it some percentage. Now, the Summit's the best three-point shooting league in the country, and we have a great offensive league. I think that will continue. I do think the percentage will go down a little bit, and as I said, I think it will affect guys that are average shooters or bad shooters. I think the great shooters will still shoot it really well.
Coach Richman?
We had the benefit of going on a foreign trip this summer, and so to get that line down during summer practices and here in the fall has been beneficial. We haven't noticed a great effect, I don't think. I haven't gone back, and obviously it'll take years to figure out just where the percentages are. The one thing that we have had to keep an eye on is just from a spacing standpoint. Guys stepping on the sideline. I think that there's a difference. Where you're trained to run to that arc, you're trained to run to that line. Well, that line, being however farther back in the corners, especially. We've had a couple heels on the lines, or pretty darn close. When we were over in Puerto Rico, guys getting called for those turnovers, and something that it's important that line is down this time of year, and you can get a feel. Just like you need to feel where you're at around the rim, you need to feel where you're at around that arc and that sideline.
Yeah, interesting perspective. Coach Hansen?
Yeah, the first thing I'd say is when the Bison come to Omaha, I hope to step on the line every time. That's what I'm
figured that was coming.
Yeah, for sure, right?
Yeah.
The one thing, and what they both said is true. Happened my first year in college, and I don't want to say the year, but it was the fall of 1986, was the first year of the three-point line.
Is there a peach basket?
Yes, there was, with the broom and everything, right? But I will say this: like Coach said, it didn't affect the good shooters. It affected others, but it didn't affect the good ones because one of the good ones shot it. And they shot those probably anyway. To Coach Richmond's, what he said, we're having some of the same things with guys on the sideline. We've had 8 practices, so we haven't had a chance to do a lot with it yet. But the one they have noticed is if you do have a good big, it helps their spacing, and it is an extra step. It is an extra count to feel and see when you go to make your move where the double team is coming. It gives you more time to make a read and making the correct pass. So we've seen, we think it might be able to help bigs a little bit, which is a little bit different than maybe thinking about just guards and just the distance. I think it's going to help the good bigs in our league.
That is interesting because there are a lot of good bigs.
Spoken like a guy that's got a good big.
Right.
Yeah, that's a very good point. This will kind of tie in, and I'm going to allow you some latitude, just kind of some other thoughts. The G League's going to this little experimental deal where they go, if you're fouled on a 3-point shot, you're going to go to the free throw line. You're going to shoot 1 free throw. If you make it, you get 3 points. If you miss, play on. Sounds, I don't know, a little bit out there, but I want you to comment on that. But at the same time, what are some other rule changes that we should look at or consider, or something things that are maybe being brought up that we shouldn't consider? I'll let you start out, Coach Richman.
Yeah, I think going back to the prior question about the fair pay for play, and being a traditionalist, you go back in the statistics and you go through some of those things. But I think we need to be aware of the attendance decline, and some of that is just we were talking off the air about football game being 3-3. You're losing people's attention, and to create an environment, to create an event, is to get people there. And if they're sitting there and for longer, and I think the statistics right now say 6 to 8 minutes more. This is a society that's on our phones and clicking and moving, and we're fast paced, and I know how I am. That's why I'm better at 9 holes of golf than 18. I lose my attention pretty quick. So, so that'll be interesting, and I like the fact that we are aware of some problems and maybe some issues, and we're experimenting. And am I glad the G League's doing it on us? Yeah, I am. We'll see how it goes there too. Some of the other rules, I think the 20-second shot clock reset would be good to keep pace of play. Some of those things, and again, I think with the spacing, the 3-point line, a lot of these things are fan friendly. A lot of these things are to create some more points in the game, to get more butts in the seats, so to speak, and something again that we need to be well aware of.
Great points, and I think you're right when it comes to this pace of play. Sometimes the video replay review or video
Yeah.
review. I agree. In today's society, a 2-minute delay seems like 10. You know, in what you want to be a fast-paced game, can you minimize the amount of time when you can do that, whatever it might be? Coach Hansen.
Yeah, you know, two things. You know, going to the G League rule with the free throw, I do agree with Dave. I'm glad they're experimenting and not us.
Yeah.
But I will say this: I've talked to a couple of G League coaches about that, and they've just had their meetings. One thing they talked about was they're going to their analytical people, and you know how we are. It's about who to foul at the end of games because you see the total percentage. Well, now who are you going to foul based on the first free throw? Go to their analytics, and now that might change up how you maybe foul. So and who you foul. So that might change up a little bit. So it might be an analytical game down the stretch. But we talk about rule changes. We go watch high school games, and I know in Minnesota it's 36 minutes, but in a lot of states it's 32 minutes. Well, we play a much more physical game. There's 8 more minutes to it. I think we need 1 more foul. I don't think our best players play enough. So if we want to keep people in the stands and have better entertainment and this and that, let's keep our best players out there more of the time. I think we need 1 more foul, which means the NBA should go to 7.
This is the type of content that people want. Seriously, it's good. I appreciate the honesty, and why not? Because somebody comes up with these ideas. I'm glad there's people that stand on the sidelines instead of someone who sits in an office somewhere going, "I got another one." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's throw this one out. Coach Lee, your thoughts?
Well, the reset of the offensive rebound, I think is good because 20 seconds is fine.
Yeah.
I think we are going to 4 quarters, and I do think we're advancing the ball to half court like the women do, and I like that. I think it's exciting. You've got to do a good job of being prepared late in the game, and you can tell, late in the game when you've got to take it 94 feet. But and a lot of times you don't have a chance. But if you can advance it and you save your timeouts, that makes a big difference. And you have to be prepared for that sideline out of bounds. And I coached with Coach Marley, who played in the NBA and coached in the NBA. He had dozens of side out of bounds plays. And I told him, I said, Coach, you're going to have to run baseline out of bounds. He's like, well, we don't run baseline out of bounds in the NBA. He goes, we run side out of bounds. He had a ton of sideline out
That's why I
of
don't like
bounds.
those 4 quarters because then there's more coaching involved.
Yeah, let's take that out of our hands.
But I do think that we will end up going to that, and I do think it's exciting. I think if you save your timeouts and you can advance the ball, there'll be a lot more opportunities for last-second shots. So that's something to look forward to.
I agree with that. I'm the defensive curmudgeon that says, well, make them come 94 feet. You know what I mean? But they take a timeout. I agree from an entertainment factor. I don't think there's any question, and also the quarters. I think those are changes that are inevitable.
Can I make a point regarding the reset of the shot clock?
Yeah.
I've never thought about it because we've never had a shot clock violation. So we shoot it way too fast. So I haven't even thought about that at all.
Shot clock. 58-50 game that we
didn't even know we had a shot clock.
I didn't even know we had a rule. I didn't know the rule changed until about 4 practices ago.
That's what this stuff is good for. I appreciate it, gentlemen. This was a great time. Your perspectives are much appreciated, and I wish you nothing but the best this upcoming season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.